Welcome to the She Did It Her Way podcast, where it's all about making the ultimate leap from your 9 to 5 and building a business and life you love, all while doing it your way. I'm your host, Amanda Boleyn. Let's get started. Hello, She Did It Her Way listeners. Welcome back to another episode of the She Did It Her Way podcast. Today we have the lovely LaToya Shambo, who is the founder of Black Girl Digital Media Inc., a premium influencer marketing agency that specializes in Black female audience. 5 years ago is when you launched this, which is so exciting. You guys have worked with VH1, BET, MTV, Ritual Vitamins, a whole host of other brands, and have gained more than 100 million plus overall impressions. And despite COVID-19, Black Girl Digital launched Influencer, Linker, a platform where they carefully vet all influencers and manage the campaign relationship between brands and Black female influencers. Oh my gosh, LaToya, welcome to the show. So excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here and talk about my journey.
Yeah. Well, no wonder why before in our virtual green room, you're like, I work Sunday to Sunday. You are just managing so many things with this world of social media. And I have to imagine managing so many humans and platforms and clients and stuff has to be crazy, and we'll get into all of that. Can you share with my listeners? So you started the company 5 years ago. What were you doing before you started your company? And then how did you make that transition? Because like I shared earlier, a lot of listeners are in that transitional period of thinking they want to start a business, they have an idea, or they are side hustling and doing their business alongside full-time job, or maybe they've just recently gone off on their own and they have a newfound freedom of all this time on their hands, which I feel like the lead up, the leap in the land, there's so many things that we can dive into, but I'm going to shut up and stop talking and I'll have you share your story because that is why we are here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually I moved here from Houston. I was born in Brooklyn but raised in Houston. I moved back and I thought I was going to be an A&R, let me tell you. I was like, I'm here to discover talent. I'm going to be in the music business. And then that didn't work out. But no, it worked out the best way it was supposed to. I ended up going to FIT for marketing and advertising. And from there, I thought I was going to do radio sales. I was in like an ad group and I saw the director, he had came in and did his whole speech. And I was like, yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I had called him. He gave out his cards back then, and I called and I was like, "Hi, yeah, I want to apply for a job." And he said, "Yeah, I would love to have you. Great." And he was like, "When do you graduate?" In May. And I was like, "Oh no, I graduate in December." He was like,
Mm.
"Well, you have to be a full graduate for this job, for the sales assistant job." And I was like, "Shoot." Well, I need an internship. And he gave me the summer internship. So I
Oh,
interned at
amazing.
Light FM the summer before I graduated. And I really seriously thought I was going to do radio ad sales. Like that was it. And when it came time to start finding jobs, I landed at an agency doing media buying for McDonald's. And I was like, well, what is this? I didn't know anything about the world of advertising from that perspective. So my experience really started on the agency side in the advertising world. And then it kind of skyrocketed from there because I was like, look, I don't want to do traditional anything. The TV, radio life was like a bore.
You're like, no, thank you.
Nothing. I wanted to be in digital and I knew it from the lay of the land. I was like, I need to do digital marketing. So I actually shifted seats a little bit and went into pharma, digital planning, boring. But I learned a good lesson about being meticulous in media planning.
Mm.
Um, and
And
then
that's so interesting too. Like, I guess if you think about it, pharmaceutical drugs also have like launches to them that you have to plan for.
they
Or
do.
even taking, if there's like a comment, I can't even think off the top of my head because I don't watch mainstream media, which I know a lot of times that's where they do some of the marketing, but, or not mainstream media, my goodness. Like, well, I don't watch that a whole lot either. Anyway, but TV in general, right? And so I don't. But yeah, you have to market those different, they're products just like everything else.
Yeah, and the thing is they come with a lot of restrictions in that space.
Mm.
So you have to include a lot of information, disclaimers. So there was limited places to run ads, and I was like, this can't really be life. And then I got a really cool call to go work at Spike Lee's agency, Spike DDB. So I was like, oh, this is cool, but also wasn't digital enough for me. So I was like, I gotta go.
Like, bye.
Bye. And then I landed at Complex. And at Complex, I was there for 7 years. I learned a lot, three different departments, helped build a lot of the process protocols across functional departments.
Wow.
And there is where I was like, I get it. I get the business. I understand the world of media from
Mm.
there. And I was like, I want an agency. This is what I wanted it to look like, but I didn't know the full scope. Um, I was always an entrepreneur at heart, starting little things here, starting a business there. But again, I didn't fully receive my purpose yet or understand my purpose um, just yet.
Mm.
But I started again just in the advertising world. I knew I was going to be in the business of advertising in my entrepreneurial journey, some way, somehow. And when I got to Complex, that definitely was like an eye opener of, all right, this is what I wanted it to look like, but what is it going to look like? So I can stop there or I can just keep on going.
No, I love it. Well, one thing that I want to point out that
Yeah.
I love how when you got into positions at roles in companies that you're like, nope, this isn't what I want. You're unapologetic about it to move on. Where sometimes I think that we can, as humans, get caught in the thought drama about, oh, I should stay longer. And I mean, I was only in corporate for less than 2 years, 22, 23. And then I quit when I was 24.
Mhm.
And even I, in my one role, I was like, oh, there's still so much to learn. Like, I'm not ready to leave this job. And so you can like mentally get stuck in that. And you're like, nope, this is not what I want. Okay, move on.
And I even tell, my interns, learn what you don't like fast and
Mhm. Yeah.
move on. It's okay to explore different roles in a company and saying, you know what, this isn't going to work for me, and be comfortable with that. If you need to go and find something that you like to do, just go and do it, because it's the worst to be in a role that you just hate every single day. And when you do
Mm,
complain, you're going to complain every single day. No, I'm like, all right,
mm-mm.
I got what I needed here, and it's time to move. It's time for me to move on. And I'm very easy in my soul. Like, it's time to go.
You're like, we gotta, yeah, yeah, love it. And so after you were at Complex 7 years, is that when you founded your company?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
so talk to us about that, the lead up phase. Like,
sure.
was it 18 months? Was it 6 months? I mean, and again, I always reemphasize this on every episode that listening to others lead up or any sort of journey for that matter is to be used. It's like a disclaimer. Use it for inspiration, but not necessarily your pathway 100% because you have to do it your own way and it's going to look different from one person to the next. And so it's like what pieces can you take and integrate that into your journey. So, yes, please continue.
Yeah, absolutely. So no one's journey is going to be the same. So I agree 100% with you. So I was pregnant when I went to Complex. So when I left Spike DDB, I was actually pregnant, and so I got to Complex. I was in ad ops, and I was like, I like the format here. This is what I want, right? And then 5 days after I gave birth, um, we were hit by a car.
No.
Oh yeah, like it was the most, and she was in my hand. So I'm left-handed, right? So usually the most you'll see people carrying a car seat, it's like down here, they're just dangling. But I was like, I'm crossing the street, let me prop her up. And the car made a short left and boom. Luckily, I was like 200 pounds. That weight legit saved my life, by the grace of God. And I had her tightly strapped in, and I live on it was a busy street. So usually buses are coming, cars are coming, but there was no bus, no car. It was like, no way. So I had to
Mm.
break my shoulder to break the fall because I couldn't let her go.
Oh.
And so when I finally fell, the car seat kind of rolled like 3 times. There were people at the bus stop. They ran in the street and, went and got her. And I'm like, my baby, like I'm screaming, my baby. The guy stopped. Everybody made sure that he stopped or whatever. And she was okay. She might have cried. She was a 10-pounder. So she had all the weight too.
She's using that inertia to keep herself going.
Exactly, exactly. So this lady who picked her up, she was like, just give her a bottle, calm her down. And then the ambulance came and they're like, all right, miss, we need to get you up and into the ambulance. And I was like, oh shit, I can't move. Like I'm just sitting and I didn't, I'm like, you're in a state of shock. I'm just
Totally.
concerned about my child. And so when they finally got me up and, it turns out I had broken my tibia, fibula, navicular. I didn't need any surgery or anything, but I was definitely in my maternity leave in a cast the entire
Wow.
time, up my mid thigh and my shoulder. So it was like, so they and when you go into a cast, they quickly try to give you crutches and ship you on out. I'm like, all right, same day. They was trying to. I
Oh
was like,
my
how do
gosh.
you expect me to use crutches when I'm broken on the opposite ends? Like I can't. So I had to stay in the hospital for 15 days away
Mm.
from my child. And it was stressful, but it could have been so much worse. And it was like at that point where I was like, I'm still here, I'm here for a reason. And I need to operate within that reason and discover that the real purpose, like my job isn't done. I'm still here to do his work. He saved me
Mm.
for a reason. Like I look at my child as my guardian angel because um I was like, I'm gonna travel the world. I'm gonna be two cities every year, hot, just moving. That's what I thought my life was gonna be. And so my daughter actually has a developmental delay, a speech delay. So there was so many things just happening, and it all happened for a reason, right? So when I went back to the office to do some paperwork, and I was on crutches at that time, my shoulder had healed, and so I was on the crutches. Um, the CEO, he was like, "How are you up here smiling and happy?" I was like, "Because this is like life is good, like,
Mm.
could have been so much worse. I, I know what my purpose is. Like this is, I'm gonna create an agency just like this, but I'm
Mm.
gonna do it for Black women because, Complex was here for the culture. They were here for the culture,
Mm.
but I'm like, well, no one is really creating brand opportunities for Black female bloggers. At that time it was bloggers.
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it and birth the idea of my purpose. And a couple years later is when the name came to me.
Mm.
I was like, that's it. Like, oh my gosh, Black Girl Digital, this is what we're going to do. And um, the first client that I had was Nicole Bitchie. Uh,
Mm.
so I had worked with her on doing her rebrand to Exo Nicole and then setting up all of her ad operations. So the first idea of Black Girl Digital was to manage the ad operations, build an ad network for
Mm.
um, Black female bloggers, because that's what that's where the industry was at the time before social media hit. And then literally the 1 year later, social media took off, Instagram took off. And all of my bloggers that I was working with, the Fashion Bomb Dailies, the Cut Life, like they all turned into influencers. So
Mm.
the agencies and brands that I was working with, they were just like, well, can we book them as influencers? So I knew how to package. I was just packaging everyone up with their editorial as well as social. And it just kind of skyrocketed from there.
Yeah.
It wasn't an overnight. success. There were so many challenges, and there's still challenges
Yeah.
today.
I was gonna say the problems change. They don't go away. Well, wait, let's unpack that. So when you were at Complex, you had that epiphany for the name of the Black Girl Digital. And so then did you take clients on in parallel as well working? And how long did you do that for? And how did you manage that? And like what was the process in place to getting clients? And what was your tipping point that you're like, yeah, okay, it's time to, gotta go.
Yeah, it was tough because it was almost, uh, of course, I'm doing everything. I'm sales,
Mm.
I'm marketing, I'm ad ops, I'm
Oh
everything,
yeah.
like recruiting bloggers and managing brand partnerships, while still managing a team of 12 between New York, Chicago, LA, because I was in the marketing department at that time. And then uh, I eventually was like, all right, I'm done doing marketing here. I wanted to go learn sales. So I needed to learn sales because is an important part of my business, right?
Mm.
I needed to learn how to do that better. And it it was challenging because there was a company that folded and went bankrupt. I don't know why I can't think of their name. And they were a big ad network for women.
Mm.
But they had got all this funding and still went bankrupt and didn't pay their bloggers. So it was kind of challenging for me.
Wow.
A lot of bloggers were like, well, I'm not getting in another ad network because this happened over there and they didn't pay. And I was like, oh my God, this is disastrous. But it's my purpose. I'm not going to give up. Like, I'm just going to, hopefully some bloggers will still trust, the
Yeah.
process. And some did, some didn't, but whatever, took it one day at a time. Um, and then it became a conflict at work because daytime business meetings, daytime calls,
You're like, and I'm at work and working on my other business.
and they didn't make a big stink out of it, but they knew something was going on.
Mhm.
They they could see me disconnecting. They can see my interest in other places. Um, so when I moved into sales, the I was maybe, I don't know, 6 months into sales, and I was like, all right, I'm over it.
Mm.
It's time. Like, I cannot do this anymore. And it was an amicable split. They were like, you've been here long enough. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? I was like, honestly, it's time. I have to focus on my own business. It's time. Um,
Sometimes making that decision is 10 times harder than if there's a severance or you're fired or let go or downsize because you have to energetically step up and decide it's like you own that decision
correct.
versus something potentially outside of you owning that or making the decision for you, right? And I think that could be a whole other podcast episode about how we have to own our decisions and be okay with them. But
Yeah.
yeah, so you guys had an amlic I can't say
I
that word.
either. I thought about it a million
Words
times.
are really hard today. Amicable. I don't know why. Anyway, um, did you have like was there saving? Yeah, I'm like
That was
what
my next
word?
point. Yes, I'll get into that.
Oh yeah, beautiful. Okay, you're like LaToya's like Amanda. Stop talking. I'll tell you. I'm just kidding.
So, all right. So before the split happened, I was like, all right, let's evaluate your bills. Let's talk to all the important people, and really plan out the best way that you can. So I wrote down what I wanted my day to day to look like. Right.
Mm,
I wake up, make breakfast for my daughter, put her on the bus, go to the gym. Like, wrote down my entire day.
love it.
And then I looked at my bills and I said, well, what is absolutely essential?
Mm,
What can I give away or give up? I stopped doing my nails. I learned how to do my own hair. I mean, I knew how to do my own hair, but I would always go into the hair salon and get a wash and set, things like that. So I was like, all right, that got to stop. Like, I cut back on so many things to minimalize my budget. Uh,
mm-hmm.
I needed to make sure that my outgoing was a fraction of my incoming.
Mm-hmm.
And still be able to pay my rent and all of the things.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had to say, all right, well, how much money do I need to make in the business in order for me to survive, survive both in my real life, and it's not even about upholding appearances at this point. It's just surviving, right? So once I had all of the numbers, and I called my daughter's father. I was like, look, I'm going to be leaving the job. But she's on his insurance, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I let my mother know. I just let everybody know, like, this is what's happening. So I might call for gas money. Like, I might call for this, like, just putting everyone on notice, because I'm going
Mm-hmm.
to notice.
The public service announcement for the inner circle. This is what's happening.
So I was ready. I was mentally ready at that point, and it happened. It was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Got a severance. I had savings. It was beautiful. And it took off from there, and then it fell flat. No, let me stop.
Okay, so we'll pause there at the falling the flat, because falling the flat. Well, I think one of the main takeaways that I got from yours is your story and your leap is that you validated the business before making the leap. You validated, I can make a sale. You
Correct.
validated, okay, I'm clear on who I want to work with. And I think that breeds so much more confidence and belief in oneself when we have that evidence in order to move forward and like take that leap. Now, my leap was I didn't have any savings. I was 24. I was like, all right, I got a car payment, I got student loans. And if I have to move back home, which I don't want to do, I could do that. And it was like, I'll get a job quickly, easily somewhere else. But I love that, like for you, it was this validation piece. And again, everyone's different, but I think it just breeds confidence. So, okay, fast forward, you took the leap, you started the business. How many years in did it go flat?
So the issue, when I say flat, and I mean like
Because you started the business 5 years ago. So that'd be 2016, correct?
2016, right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So 2015, 26, I say 2016, it was the first tax year.
Mm-hmm.
It's the first tax year. But I was operating in 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and mapping everything out. And I'll quickly caveat that I think a lot of people go into business and don't think about their actual business model. And
Mm-hmm.
I understood my business model, meaning this is, the product, and this is how we're going to make money from the product. This is how I'm going to profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, and in the first year, I didn't think about the necessarily the profit. Again, it was, how am I going to just survive, right? Um, but it fell flat because I thought I could just do it on my own. We all think we can just run a business on our own. And then I brought in the wrong people to help
Mm-hmm.
first go round. You want to, hey friends, come
Mm-hmm.
help. Um, but just because you're friends, it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be in business together. Especially, not assessing people's personalities, and they might be good in finance for themselves, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are good in building the financial section of your business.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh, like there were so many learning curves in personnel
Mm-hmm.
that I went through, and still, quite frankly, still going through. We have a solid team now, but kind of working with my COO on, all right, well, what does the HR department look like, and how are we handling when we're bringing in interns and exiting them out, and things of that nature. But um, in that second year, it was really tough finding and positioning the personnel to help grow the business, because in the first year I'm like, I'm just going to do it, and I never slept. I mean, I'm telling
Mm.
you, never slept, because in the business model, you have to answer RFPs. When you're answering RFPs, sometimes writing out the deck and pulling together the media plan can take all
Oh,
day, all night. Ideating is not like, if you're creative, you have to
oh my gosh.
that creative is just like, oh my goodness. Then I
I
got
was gonna say, talk about the things like figuring out what you don't like to do fast. Like even you saying that, I'm like, oh,
I
I want to do the meeting. I would do the sales meeting. I would talk all day, say, yep, we'll get that. And then I'd be like, and you need to create that because I'm not doing that. Yeah.
please,
Yeah.
please. And I the part of the business I was learning that I don't like is going for the end. Can you pay me? Can you pay me on time?
Mm,
I don't have time for that. I just want to execute, payroll, like all of that stuff I don't want to do. And that is so in the second year is when I brought in my business partner, but that was later in the year. First I had some of my friends was trying to help me and didn't work out, no longer did the friendship. So
mm,
that was unfortunate. But when I brought on my business partner, I mean, talk about whipping things into shape, like
mm,
organizing everything, putting me on payroll. Like that was the change, the pivotal point of the business is when I brought on my COO. And had I been smart, I would have did it from day one. But I also think that I needed time to develop what Black Girl
mm,
Digital was,
mm,
or was going to be, before I was able to sell in the idea to someone else to come in and help me do this for free. Because I couldn't necessarily pay her just yet. There was
mm,
just enough to pay me because I had to pay rent and all of these other things.
mm,
And I was like, well, you know what? Here's equity. Happy to do it. We need to build this thing, right?
mm,
So the second year, it was tough. It was really tough. And then the third year, I was in a toxic relationship, and it almost
mm,
jeopardized the business because you're putting in so much work building a relationship. You're not putting in the same effort into building the business, and
mm,
focus was off. Luckily, I had my business partner. Because if it was just me, child, woof, if it were just me. And then I got distracted and trying to launch another business, and it's like God is like, what are you doing? What are you
mhm,
you need to wake up again, because you're falling asleep on your purpose, and
mm,
have you do that. So something happened, and I ended up doing another life transformation and leaving that relationship, and um, diving into the Bible, and things just really started to align. It was funny. I had watched this video about 5 things you need to know if this person is your soulmate. I was like bawling tears watching. Like, oh my
yeah.
God, I need to change my life. It was so much. It was so
Well, even
dramatic.
like the changing, I just did another interview previously, and we were also talking about kind of when you're called to go to that next version of yourself, you kind of have to leave your old self behind. And that is tremendously scary because sometimes you give up the good for the great, but you don't know it at the time. You're acting on blind faith, but you just know that in this moment, you're something else is calling you and you're blindly stepping up and saying, okay, yes, let's do it. And I love that you're sharing this whole journey because business isn't a linear event or journey. And it's personal, it's hard, there are ups and downs, there's problems, but there's different problems. And so the the goal isn't to eradicate all problems, it's to become the person who knows how to navigate problems
Correct.
better, right? Because
Yeah.
it's like we can't change our circumstances, but we can change how we react to what life gives us. So yeah, that's beautiful. So that was what, year 3 and 4. Now we're in year 5. Like, what's
So
been your biggest like takeaway and learning?
So the biggest takeaway is that you have to align your personal self with your business self.
Mm,
Like you can't separate the two. They have to be in alignment in order for both to thrive. And again, it's not about perfection, it's about progress, right?
mm,
So as you
yes.
are working on self, you have to say, all right, well, how can I work on my business at the same time? So now I in the end of Q3, Q4, I do like a 10-day fast, disconnect from people, and focus on, all right, well, what do I need to, what was the year like for myself? What was the year like for the business? Did I hit all of the goals that
Mm,
we intended? And what do we need? What do I need for next year in order to grow? Because it's never about this. It is always like
mm,
this, right? So
mhm,
figuring out, well, what does that look like, and putting measurable actions against it. Um, in that, I learned that it is so important to have a big vision and break
mm,
it down in micro visions and sharing the vision with
yeah.
all of the necessary parties. And that's how I was able to really build a team that works hard every day.
Mm,
Now they can see the vision. It's not just in my head anymore.
yeah.
And I discovered this platform called Milanote. Milanote allows me to literally visually mock up what is in my head. Like it is
Milano?
Milanote. I mean, when I say game changer,
All
it
right.
especially as of having virtual teams, it is beautiful. We all can operate in it. I create like this is what our brand vision board looks like. This is what social looks like. These are all of our live campaigns. These are our partners. This is our process. It it I mean game changer.
Wow.
Pro, uh,
I've never heard of it. Okay. And you could see my face if you're watching the video. I'm like, what? So it's milanote.com if you want to check it out. Okay. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. I'm going to take a look at that.
game changer for visionaries,
Mhm.
and being able to share the vision with other people within your organization. And that was important for me in building the organization. It's um, I love working in corporate America. I don't have a problem with working in corporate America. And it's so funny. I was thinking about this the other day. Um, we're all building a business, but no one wants to accept the fact that one day, if you're building your business correctly, it is going to be a part of corporate America.
Mm, yeah.
But
Mhm.
what I want to change is the mindset around it. I'm building cultured America within my organization.
Mm,
It's important. Again, here's the shared vision. Here's how I'm feeling about everything. Here is what I'm thinking about everything. What are your thoughts? How do you guys feel about this? And making sure that yes, I'm this is the overall vision, but how are you lending to that and building upwards? And how are you adding
mm,
to the vision every single day, every single week, so that at the end of the year,
mm.
we reached what the goals were for the year. So again, it was really about me building this inclusive um, growth.
Yeah.
It's not just about me, it's me now becoming the face, but making sure that they have the processes and protocols and all of the information for them to do their jobs so that the company can grow and thrive the way that it should be, so that we too can be a part of cultured America or corporate America.
Yeah, but it's like what you said as I mean, it's so important for us as individuals to have the vision for the business and for our life, like what do we want to get out of it? Where do we want to be? Do you want to own a home in Portugal? What do you want, right? It's kind of that scene on what is that movie that he's like, "What do you want?" I can't it was like a
It
you
sounds
know what yeah,
like I know what you're talking about. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, and sometimes it's like it's really scary and overwhelming to answer the question, "What do you want?" And
That's
because you're like, but what do I want? Do I want this? Do I want that? What if I want the wrong thing? And it's like, okay, you can't mess it up. But the way that you could mess it up is never answering the question. But having that vision there. And there's something else that you said that I had written down. I love the aligning your who you are personally with your business. I have found that my business only grows as a direct reflection as how much I grow as an individual and as a human. I feel like entrepreneurship is one of the best personal development courses you could ever take because it forces you to get real close with all your shadows and demons and you're like, "Oh, yep, okay, let's that came from my childhood, so let's work through that and do all that." I'm curious, like with the business side. So we talked about your journey, but let's talk a little bit about the business side and the industry and like focusing primarily specifically with Black women and building that. Has it been easy? Has it been hard? What sort of challenges have you had to face as a business owner building your business?
so first internally, when you have when you're starting out, you don't know what you don't know. You only know what you know. and,
Amen.
and then it's like, oh shoot, taxes. Let's talk about these taxes. You
Mm.
know,
Yes.
no one,
I've had my own experience when I first started and I was like 24 and they're like, "Oh, you owe X amount in a tax bill." And I'm like, "Oh, that's not anywhere near what I had saved." Like, "Okay."
no one talks about this part of business, and it is so unfortunate
Mm,
um, that it's left out of so many conversations. It's uh, so the company is we're S corp,
mhm,
and um, did it as for shareholders. We're going to get investment. It's better to have a corporation, fine. And that's great. And then people say, yeah, file a loss, file a loss, file a loss, file a loss for as long as whatever.
mm,
Luckily, in the second year of the business, I went and got a business line of credit. That is something else that people don't often go after, but it saved a lot of the business. I did cash in my 401k,
mhm,
but we also got a business line of credit. And I said, hey bank, now this is like the fourth year. Hey bank, can we get an increase on the line of credit? He was like, yeah, sure. Send us over your taxes and let's see how much
mm,
money you made. Let's see how much money you made.
mhm. Everyone's like, "Decrease the amount of money you made until you need to go buy a house or you need a loan or you need proof of like revenue."
Now you need proof of revenue. But because you filed your taxes showing that you had a loss because you were running away from paying taxes,
Mm,
we can't give you any money because you don't make any money.
mhm,
Well, we made six figures. No, you didn't. That's according to your taxes. No, you did not.
mhm.
When I tell you that was the biggest wake up call of business and paying attention, it was one of the biggest wake up calls. And speaking to so what I said to my business partner, I was like, all right, look, I'm going to structure everything so that we show a profit next year.
Mhm.
Said it to the tax girl, we're going to make a profit next year. She was like, okay. That's all she said. And if I am the person filing the taxes, then I should be proactive in giving you information on, well, if you do this, then this is the result of that X, Y, and Z.
Mm.
So now comes the next tax year because LaToya Shambo delivers on what she said she's going to deliver on.
Mhm.
Profit. We had a profit. And now the girl who's doing the taxes, she was like, oh, um, well, as a shareholder, you're responsible for claiming that income on your personal taxes.
Mhm. Is this the point where people are listening, the listeners are listening, they're like, "Maybe I don't want it." No, I'm just kidding.
You-
It is you learn something new every single day and I've been doing business taxes since 2012 and I now feel like in the past 18 months that I'm in a routine of payroll, taxes, like all taxes at the end of the year, pay like
or
all of that, you know? Yeah.
It is.
So I think it's important for anyone who's listening, like it is a journey but to do, to do as much upfront. And I wish I would have done so much more at the beginning too. But yeah, sorry, please continue.
But you don't,
Cause I
again,
know people are appreciating this so much for you being so open and honest about it. Cause yeah, you're right. Most people don't talk about this.
it's a lot, but it's, again, you don't know until you know, until you go through it, until you get to that point in your business that, shoot, we actually need a business manager at this point.
Mm,
My business partner, again, she was great in organizing the finances, making sure we're paying bills on time, making sure we're paying ourselves on time, and setting up a payroll system. But she
mm,
don't know no business. She don't know nothing about business taxes. And it was so, and on top of that, so we both went, she was still at her 9 to 5, and I had ended up going back into corporate America,
mm,
um, because I couldn't pass up this job. It was such a great job. So I'm like making 6 figures at my corporate job, and now I have to, and I'm on payroll at my business, and now I have to take on the taxes from the income from the net profit. I was like, oh my God. I was, when I tell you, I couldn't even respond to the email because it took me 2 weeks to even circle back around. I was like, it's
mm,
unacceptable. Like, we should have had this conversation last year when I told you we were going to hit a profit so we could better prepare ourselves mentally first and
mm.
foremost, but seeing what we can do. I think it's called tax shelters, whatever, but
I love how you like leaned in. You're like tax shelters.
but it's really, again, these are important things that we need to understand as business owners. Maybe we could have set up a 401k, maybe we could have
Right.
the Roth IRA, like all the things,
Yeah.
so that was another learning curve. Again, when you start structuring, when your business is structured and you hit a profit, that is a whole another ball game that you
Mm,
step in. And when you consistently are producing 6 figures every year, it's a whole ball game that you need to change. And this is where I would recommend people start finding a business coach. We're at the
mm.
point of like, we need a business coach, to be honest. Like, I've taken the business as far as I can take it
Yeah.
by ourselves. Like, that's it. This is all we got. We need more. We need a more experienced person to come in and help us scale. At this
Yeah.
point, it is about how are we scaling the business and growing, taking the finances to the next level, and it's a lot. It is not an easy ride, but it's so fun. It's like you're learning so much.
Oh
We
my gosh. I love it. Like, your attitude is the best. The second thing is, I mean, it kind of goes back. I think it goes back to what you're saying earlier is it's so important to have that why in order to keep you going through moments when you could instead be like, WTF, throwing in the towel, this is happening, and like this problem, this problem, this problem. And sometimes we can look at problems in the wrong way and think that it means stop when actually it's like, no, it's just a problem. We got to figure it out. Like you can either choose to stop or you can choose to keep going. I mean, and we also sometimes think that we're the only ones that have this unique quote unquote problem. And it's like, no, 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 no. We all in business is like, no one has it figured out, which is why most people don't get into it because it's something that is, I mean, you figure it out along the way. And yes, there's best practices and there's certain ways that you can do things and say things, but like it's all a journey and we just have to be committed to the journey and what you said, having fun.
yes.
Because it's like if we're like, oh gosh, this has got to work and we bring that energy to it, like that's not fun. And not to say again, when there's really crap moments, you may or may not be in that moment be like, this is fun. I mean, but at the same time, if you're having less fun than if you're having more challenges than you are fun, then it's like, how can we balance it a little bit? Right.
I think that, it's, for me, I actually love the process
Mm,
more than anything. And that's what keeps me on the straight and narrow. It's like, I understand that everything is a process.
mm,
I
mhm,
understand that it's not a one and done. It's a one, two, three, four, two, three, four, two, one, two, one.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I'm okay with it. If the day doesn't go straight, it's cool. There's another day that is coming.
Mm,
If a deliverable is late, it's okay. It'll arrive.
mm-hmm.
It's really communicating and being accountable. If I mess up, I mess up.
Mm,
But I try not to overpromise. That was a big thing in the beginning of business, overpromising. I'm like, no, 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 no. We can actually only do one, but then give
yep.
three if I can, you know. But again, it's all about the love of process
Yeah.
and staying true to why I'm doing this, where I don't lose sight of why I'm doing it, and making sure that, if we do run into a client that is overly complicated or goes against our guiding principles, and it's over. Like I've
Mm,
canceled a whole client because they made us almost step out of character. And again, we have clear values
right.
and respect is in it. So if
Yeah.
the client is being disrespectful and pushing us towards the possibility of being disrespectful, you know what? We have to end the contract, and it's just we don't need the money. It's okay.
Right.
We
Mm,
make sure we leave this in a respectable place, because all we got is our reputation. You know,
mm.
that is it. So
Oh,
the
so
process.
good. I love it. This has been so amazing, and thank you, LaToya, for bringing your energy and your smile. I mean, I know if you're tuning in, you can't see LaToya's smile, but if you're watching, it is a beautiful smile, and so much energy. And I just have a few last questions that I want to ask. Number one, what is the best book that you can recommend in terms of like a business book or someone to learn or read? Excuse me.
I'm so glad you asked that, and I was going to bring it up in a few statements ago. But one of the books that changed my life. There's two. Well, there's more than two, but
Yeah. Yes.
transformational. Uh, seven, ha- seven habits of highly effective people.
Mhm.
Such a life changing book. Really on how to deal with people, how to prioritize over everything can't be urgent. Um, and then the other book is I have
I love it. You clearly have your books all over your office. You're like, "Wait, is it in this stack? Is it in that stack?"
I have books all over the place. Leadership 2.0,
Mm.
channeling the leader in you, I believe it is.
Mhm.
Um, that book really empowered me to build a better team,
Mm.
in giving them power of leadership, not saying, you're the CEO, but it's you are actually the leader in your position, no matter how big or small. So as the leader in your
Mm.
position, I need you to come forth with, this is what's working, this is not working, this is how we can be better. And I was like, we're all at the ground level here. Sure, there's a light hierarchy, however, I still want you all to feel super comfortable, and powerful in your role. uh,
Mm.
and that book really helped me identify how to deal with that, how to approach it,
Mhm.
and share with the team, learning how to be vulnerable, but still I am the CEO. So there's still
Yeah.
a level of, all right, guys, you
Like
listen, I'm, you know,
yeah, how to lead. Yeah, lead effectively, and that's so good. Okay, I love it. What is the best $100 or less purchase one can make in their business?
mm, gosh, that's $600.
I know. I'm always
Less,
so curious on what people say.
less than $100. Gmail. Get you
Oh,
get you a business email. It
mm,
it is $6 a month.
mhm.
it might have went up to $7.
Well, and if you have Squarespace, when you sign up for Squarespace, you can add the Google Workspace for like such a deal, which I don't know how I missed that, but it's so good. Yeah, I agree. I think having a Google Workspace and having a business email and then you get your entire centralized system set up. Yes. So I love it. Okay. LaToya, will you share with my listeners where they can connect with you and if they want to follow up or say hello and where can they find more about you and your business?
Yeah, absolutely. So the business account is on Instagram, Black Girl Digital, spelt as it sound. And my personal is LaToya Shambo, LaToyasHambo. And our website is blackgirldigital.com.
I love it. We'll have all that in the show notes. Thank you so much. And thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Until next week, keep doing it your way. If you enjoyed today's podcast episode, you can head on over to shediditherway.com where you can access the entire vault of She Did It Her Way podcast episodes. And you can also access free trainings and resources all about how to make the ultimate leap from your 9 to 5. And if you enjoyed today's podcast episode, I would be so grateful if you headed on over to iTunes and left a review letting me know what you love about the She Did It Her Way podcast. Until next time, keep doing it your way.